Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and family beyond the binary, hello and welcome back to some more ECAC Collegiate Overwatch. My name is Warren JuggleGod Hammond, and I am joined on the mic by the phenom herself, Dryad. How are you doing tonight, Dryad?
I'm doing pretty good. We have a good match in our hands. It's going to be the set of Cardinal Esports going against Post. And these are teams that, in terms of scores, they are looking very similar. Right? It's a 2-3, it's a 3-2. It's one more victory than the other. So, not really a big difference here. And it should make a good match because of that.
It should absolutely make for a good match. Love seeing two teams go up against each other that are, relatively even in the standings. That almost always an indicator that we're going to be in for some great Overwatch. Now, like you said, both of these teams sporting a very similar record, 2-3 for Post University, whereas Colonel Esports sitting at 3-2. Post coming off a loss most recently, whereas Colonel Esports coming off a win. So I think with a little bit better record and also maybe with a momentum coming off from that win, Colonel Esports is, I think, going to have a little bit of a leg up on this game. I think they are coming into this game maybe with a slight edge over Post University. But you know what? The Eagles, they could have had a fire lit under them from taking that last loss. So they could be, more than primed and ready to come back for a win tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because that victory, I mean, there's so many factors that can play into why it's a 3-2 and a 2-3, depending on the enemy that you have to face week after week. Some of them being the ones that you're able to take down easily, others that you have a lot of difficulty. It goes to multiple maps to define who ends up being at the top. So there's a lot of factors as well. Like you said, sure, it can be an advantage. So you can take a little bit of momentum from the last victory that you got, but more than anything to me is going to be how teams are able to adapt and to overcome those losses to continue having a positive score.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to see exactly how they handle their most recent losses and successes as we head into our first map. We're going to be going to Busan to start things out, Dryad.
Busan is honestly my favorite map to start with as well. I know everyone always goes with Lijiang Tower for control, but I'm a Busan enjoyer. I really like it. I feel like it plays so nicely, and it also it plays very similar to Lijiang Tower in terms that every single sub map that we go into allows for different compositions to be played as well. And so that is a factor that is nice to take into account when you're looking for a dive, especially in downtown, where you're looking for a rush in Mecha Base. And we start seeing how flexible teams really are the more that we get to see from them just at the first map.
You're absolutely right. Well, let's see how flexible these teams can be, Dryad, as we're going to be loading into the game very shortly. We're going to be first moving to downtown. We're going to see, whether or not the dive, that is most typically run here, that Post is has in spawn right now, how that's going to go up against a brawl, which I feel like is not the typical choice here on downtown.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna think there's gonna be some last minute changes as well, or last second changes rather for these teams, especially to take that point control. I feel like a lot of teams as well make that mistake of prioritizing that point control early on over prioritizing the fight win. So any sort of mistake that you make early on, especially in that position, is going to cause maybe a fight or two, and with that percentage that is going to the enemy.
You're absolutely right. Now, the Brawl is going to most likely come away with the early point control here. Number one taken out of the fight early. That's going to be a thorn in the side of the Colonels and this Brawl composition. Though a Ablindswan now trying to poke in some damage from the side. But they're going to be taken out by Cope. So, going to be a 5v5 at the moment. And like you were mentioning here, point control going to go the way of the Brawl. But Post knows that they can win the fight if they take it slow and they choose their targets wisely. 10% on the board now for the Colonels. Picks coming in either way. No main tank to be found on either side, though. Dryad.
No one else here, but a couple picks that are Ornos are just going to benefit them in the longer run because they are very stale picks that we get to see, which means the next proper fight with 6v6 is going to take quite a long time to take place. And in the meantime, Ornos, they can get away with creating so much space like we get to see here. It's going to be the Dragon to start off, and there's not a lot of space to run with. Everything they have to do here is continuing having that point control, that presence around the map to work with.
We're going to see the dive come in now. Nano Boost committed onto Frosty. They're going to get this primal range soon. Cove still holding on to that Dragon Strike. Looking for the prime opportunity. Here's the grab. Dragon Strike going to go through it momentarily. And with that, 2 picks on the board. Make it 3 for the Colonels. Rez does come in, but it's going to be too little too late. Although I say that, and then Katsumi falls with her out of the fight. No, it's still going the way of the Colonels.
Still going their way and still managing to rotate those ultimates more than anything. So Katsumi, sure, just got taken down at the end of the fight, but it's at the same time as Post and the entirety of the team actually got taken down. So Katsumi should be able to come back in time, use that anti-clinching and create that space on point. As we see a dive trying to take place, but there's no heals, there's no protection here, so the Primal Rage has to be used.
Primal Rage committed. Now we've got the sound barrier in place from Law. That's going to give a lot of shields to their team. Number 1, the only person not the recipient of it. Speaking of Ash, it's going to be the Dynamite and a couple of shots that really start to open things up for Post. And with that, they get their first control.
It's a good control that we're able to see here. As Night 3, I mean, it's quite a lot, so a single fight should do it for the side of Cornels, and they haven't given up on this fight instead. They're putting the pressure, they're coming one by one, and the picks that are trying to connect, seems like the timing now, this wasn't right. A grab that is here the way in the back is able to get a couple members. The kills are a little harder to connect.
Yeah, they're not just quite coming in. They do get one onto Ablindswan, and that's crucial because they had the Dragon Strike. But Katsumi, she is out of the fight once again. And without those extra heals, the Post is just going to be able to post up on point and take it for their own.
40% and a good control on the side of Post. And it's a matter of now initiating with those ultimates and continuing having that point control. Those dragons very early on. And I was going to say the primary too, but the Winston got taken down too early.
Yeah, with Winston down, there goes your primary initiation tool, plus the Primal Rage, the only ultimate that was coming online for Post University. With Flirty falling as well, that is a 4v6 now for the Colonels. Make that a 7v6 as Bob is committed. Bucky has the Shatter ready to go. We're going to see them take over this point. Right now, swinging that rocket hammer, it's going to be Mydudesa going down. The Shatter lands onto the Primaling Frosty. They're going to be very hard to find life as overtime ticks over. The Colonels will take the first submap on Busan.
The point here is going to end up going as at Cornels. One by one, Posts do get taken down, and that 99 turns into 100. But the last couple picks that can do everything is around. End up going on this type of Cornels, and even though they struggle in a single fight, I feel like more than anything, the reason why we saw that taking place is just a matter of everyone being distributed in different parts of the map. Some of them in point, some of them trying to take the high ground control. And when you're playing like that, coordinating with your team to get the heals necessary is very, very difficult. So we saw that it staggered them a little bit, but once they came back with all 6 members, Cornels was able to take that fight quite easily. So it's a nice round for them. There's still one more to go into this one at least, and that means the composition will change. It's going to be the Reinhardt. This is also one of those maps where we see quite a lot of variety when it comes to compositions. So honestly, anything is a possibility here. We see a lot of dive, we see a lot of rush here, and for Colonels bring out this rush. I like it because, you know, the difficulty that they had with communication is something that they're able to solve so much better when they're all playing together in a rush style.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. They're going to be able to, you know, it's one of the, I don't know if I want to say easier compositions to execute, but one of the simpler, as it were. You just have to stay grouped up, and just that alone is going to get you so much value. Early pick onto Post is going to lead to a second, and with that, a flurry of damage comes in, and the Cardinals take control of the point first.
Once again, pointing for what initially going for the set of Cardinals, but the commitment into the side for Post, it's something that could be working out, but it's so difficult to make happen. It does seem like the DPS though are putting the work behind. They're taking the members one by one, but as long as we don't take that loose, though, it's going to be more Cornell control here.
Reinhardt and Lucy are going to fall, and with that, Post is going to take this point on the heels of a great recontest coming out from them. They took that a lot faster than I was expecting, Dryad. Took me by surprise, and I think the Colonels as well.
There's a good commitment there for the GDPS. Of course, it is risky, but they were just able to capitalize from the side of Cornels having only the Luis to be able to work with. Captain got taken down early, and now Captain is back as an improvisation to use. It's bringing that hesitation as well to work with for Post to be able to push in, so Post will be getting away with it.
Excellent amplification matrix there from Mydudesa. Almost catches out Bucky on that aggressive charge. Putt not going to meet their demise, and with that, the Colonels back off. They're going to have to try again.
All members here have to take some damage. The double shield coming in Post, everything becomes so much more difficult. It's going to be getting close to the Urisa, but the gold is going to block that shatter as well.
Excellent use of the Fortify there by Frosty to keep that shatter at bay. Amplification Matrix now in front of Katsumi. She's going to be her team a lot more of a chance to do some damage, but it's going to be the damage coming in from Flirty and this Gravitic Flux that seals the deal one more time for Post. And Post University, they may have found the answer to this brawl composition that the Colonels have been posting up.
With that, over 60% now, and the Post gets to see. It is a pretty comfortable situation now. The biggest task is at hand is going to be Colonels coming in with so many ultimates. They grab dragons is the one combo that I'm looking at that can get so much value and can give them the point control that they've been craving for so long again.
That is certainly good. I think they're going to have to fade out this immortality. First, we're going to see that committed on the back of the grab, but the Dragon Strike is massive. A 4-shot for Cove. And with that, the Colonels will take control of the point once again.
Good combination there, but it's too ultimate to make it work now. How's the rotation of those ultimates going to work? It's got to be an early sound barrier to keep the team alive as the fight starts to take place, because Post, they're going to start playing very aggressively with the supercharger.
They certainly are. It is burning a hole in Frosty's pocket, I imagine, right now as they start to post up for their attack. Here comes the amplification matrix and that supercharger, but it's going to be the tack visor from the Colonels. And number one that stands alone and on top here, winning the fight for the Colonels and giving them another chance in this. And oh no, the res.
And though the Viper, one of those ultimates that you can't really count on to get kills, but this is a situation where it just got to work because Cardinals, they wanted to take the fight from far away. They wanted to keep their distance from the enemy team, and it worked out perfectly only with that ultimate, putting the pressure, forcing everyone back. And as everyone got back, things got messy for Post, where Cardinals are able to hold it. Now this is where we see the sound barrier.
Things are getting messy once again for Post as the Colonels just take a very aggressive stance here, pushing Post University almost back to spawn, and now we are in a last fight situation for them.
Yeah, but that's going to be 90% for Colonels because of how aggressive they're playing. They're pretty much not even letting the enemy get out of spawn, but an attempt is going to be made here on this side of Post, and Colonels, they're going to recognize that, they're going to respect that, and they're going to back up.
Oh my gosh, Bucky throws down the shatter, but the Fortify is there. Got the Dragon Strike thrown in. Now that's going to yield a couple of kills. The sound barrier from Law keeping everybody alive. And the law of the land today is the Colonels will take Busan with a quick 2-0.
It's a 2-0 that happens very quickly, but it also put up a fight on the side of Post. They were trying to find an answer every single time, and they were actually getting a couple fights, even more than they had to, because of their commitment into the late fights. And this is something that we don't really see a lot of teams doing. Usually, when two of your members get taken down, you're backing up, you're regrouping with everyone else. But the DPS and the way that they were working together was so nice for them to see and to make a situation like this one work.
Yeah, beautiful play coming out from Colonel Esports right now to take them up to an early lead over Post University, the Eagles. So, as we head into our next map, and it's going to be the Eagles' choice here, we're going to be going to Escort. And right now, all we've seen out of the Colonels is this brawl composition, and it's worked great for them. So, my question is, do we see Post University go somewhere like potentially Watchpoint Gibraltar to try and get them off this brawl?
It might be a possibility, and I feel like we don't see Watch Point as often as I would like to, but to be fair, any other composition that is not a rush or a six man, it's so hard to run, it's so hard to synergize with. So a lot of teams go to their comfort picks more than anything. And I understand why we don't see them map too often, but it would be nice to see a change in composition like we see and like we got to see on this little post. They have some very nice strings that they can capitalize from that. And it sounds crazy, right? It's the soldier and the Torbjorn that were doing so much into the early fight that we got to see in that second sub map. So now it's a matter of how much can you get from that specific DPS line, especially from the soldier, which even though it doesn't seem to be the most meta, it is one of the heroes that you're considering when you're running in a match like this one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it has gotten a tremendous amount of value already tonight. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we continue to see the legs making a showing tonight here in this ECAC match. Um, and let's see here. Do we have a map choice yet? I'm checking. No, not yet. Still waiting on one from the players, so we can continue to theorize and conjecture about which map we may be going to for escort. Another interesting possibility I think would be Junkertown. Um, double shield works very very well there, and we've already seen the Eagles use it at least once.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also one of the only maps that allows you to play that double shield for first and second point in a way that
Right.
it makes sense. It's not something that you're able to do in every single map. So being very careful about again the comfort of players and what composition they feel like they shine the most with. My only hesitation is that sometimes the double shield is simply not going to work because you're getting directly countered over and over again. So the willingness to make those changes when it's necessary, right? You're losing one, two, three fights in a row. Well, it's time to change things around. It's time to put that pressure into the backline where, when you are playing a double shield, you're not able to do just that. You're putting pressure from that poke that we see early on. So if it's necessary, I would like to see a change in a composition like this one. And I mean, it goes to anything else, regardless of the map, too. A lot of teams deciding to commit when sometimes you just gotta make that harsh decision and change and see how pressure from a different angle can work better for you.
You're absolutely right. Adaptation is such a key to Overwatch. And, to be honest, we haven't seen a whole lot of that come out from Post except for in between rounds, right? We saw them just try to hammer away with the same composition that they were using from start to finish on Downtown and Sanctuary. So, I wonder if maybe we don't need to see a little bit more proactive adaptation coming out from this side, right? You lose one fight and you say to yourselves, oh, maybe this is a comp difference. Let's swap. That might be the kind of decision making that we need to see come out here, especially as we're going on to these longer maps where you're likely going to see several swaps coming out. Even if it's not, if it's not from an entire composition standpoint, you're definitely going to see some DPS swaps being made.
Yeah, absolutely. And we already know that the next map is going to be Rialto, which is a nice one and an interesting one too. It plays a lot into yes, the double shield for the defense is very much a possibility. It's definitely one of those compositions that teams like to run and that they're pretty good at running the more you play this map too. But also it's a map that allows you to play pretty much anything else. I wouldn't mind seeing a dive actually. I feel like it has quite a lot of potential. But the only time that we got to see the dive so far in downtown was a dive that was only the Winston going in, and it was only the Winston putting that pressure and getting no heals as well because of how he was located in the map. So if we're going to see a dive, I would like to see more of that synergy working together with the supports, especially because if your main tank is dead, there's not many openings for the entire team to work with.
Yeah, that's so true. That main tank has to stay alive. I mean, that's their job, right? To create space, to make opportunities for the rest of the team to pop off in some way, shape, or form. So the sport's definitely going to have to be very in tune with their main tank. And I agree with you. I believe that the composition, if I'm not mistaken, that we saw Post University use, I believe was a double bubble. And so I would like to see maybe a full dive composition come out. If I'm mistaken, I apologize. But even if that were the case, then I think we do need to see more coordination coming out from them. But you're absolutely right. Rialto could be a great place for that. Rialto is one of these maps where you can actually run a lot of different compositions, despite it, not having the tremendously high ground that something like Watchpoint Gibraltar and Numbani has.
Absolutely, and you're able to get some really nice high grounds, and of course, we talk about the role that more than anything, the tanks are able to shape in a composition in the meta the teams feel comfortable running. But also another key factor to take into account gonna be the DPS. Of course, this is a map where we see a lot of Ashe being played, a lot of Hansel, a lot of Cassidy too, and it is maps where it just makes sense to run composition like this one, where you don't have the most high ground, but you do have some high ground to work with and to get some nice headshots. So we already know as we go jump into the map that the composition here in the defense and the side of post is something that it's risky, right? When we look at the tanks that are going to be played, is a sticky map where the shield can get broken and destroyed so quickly, and it's a Roadhog as well that is so easy to get an ultimate with if you're directly shooting at him. So a lot of pressure for playing around the corners, getting a lot of protection with the nature of the map itself for this defense to work out.
You're absolutely right. They're going to really have to hug this map geometry very, very closely to find success. But success already early on the board for them as Flirty able to come away with a pick onto number 1. Frosty makes sure that Law loses their footing as well, finds a watery grave. Capt does strike back. Frosty, though, getting a lot of damage in onto the backline. Now that they've got some free reign, they are going to be taken out, though, as number 1 comes back into the fight. That soldier's definitely going to be picking out that bar from the sky as much as they possibly can. Now we're going to see a Ablindswan fall, and with that tank out of the way, the rest begin to fall by the wayside as well. And Colonel Esports continues through point 1, and I'm not sure if we're going to see a contest here. This might just be one and done.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's going to be the case because Cornels is just not allowing it to happen. Look at how aggressive they're playing with that Reinhardt too, contesting and making sure the post cannot push forward as the payload gets to the first point and post. They're hungry here. They're stuck in the middle of everything. They cannot even have stairs controlled right now, and it can be a very nice drop around for Cornels to work with.
It sure can be. We see JBev going down very low off of some aggression, and once again, I think that there needs to be a really, really hard reset coming out from post, because right now they're just getting staggered again and again, and this is, you could even potentially look at this as still the first fight, right? There hasn't been a moment for post to be able to reset. They're going to pop the amplification matrix to see if they can stymie some of this bleeding. They're able to get a couple of picks. Cart just now rounding this corner. Cove thinking about throwing out this Dragon Strike. The sides against it begins to back off. And with that, the post will finally get their first defensive hold.
And that's the thing though, right? We see the amplification being used, but it's more than anything it's a reacting tool that we get to get some control on this kind of pose, and because of that now they're rolling with so many ultimates at once. We get to see the whole hog, we got to see the amplification, the flux too, so much that is being invested into the team just to get control, just to get a little bit of downtime for them to position themselves a little bit better in this map and in an area for second point that is so hard for the defense to deal with. If you have no serious control, we have no chances to get anything done. So Colonels, they got to save their ultimate, so that wasn't even a fight that really affected them too much.
No, it wasn't. They're going to have 6 ultimates on board for this next fight, and you're absolutely right in that post had to use everything they had practically just to gain control. Flirty's going to let loose with the Dragon Strike. The barrage going to come out as well, but there's going to be trades on the board either way. Number 1 now with the attack visor, making a lot of members of the post back off, and now Colonels will have control over this card again, but not for very long as Flirty comes up with a couple of big kills.
Only those hands was able to just calm down the situation, and the multiple trades that we saw for both teams coming right and left. But Colonels, again, he lost that fight. He only lost a visor, so it's still not a full loss for them. Still just a little bit of downtime that they get to have for just a little bit of time. While post, they're wasting so many resources early on that Colonels, it's such a good decision here.
They really, really are. They're in an even better position now that the Dragon Strike lands. We're going to see the sound barrier committed. But look at this damage coming in from the Colonels. Just a tremendous team wipe. And with that, they likely get second point. I don't know if there's any chance for a contest to come out from post.
Once again, it's not going to be the case. There's just no time. It's going to be a last-second attempt here, but with no Lucio, with no speed as well, the situation for Pose becomes so much more difficult. So the second checkpoint will belong to Coronos now to work with, and an amplification to pass this corner that is so hard to keep control of is everything that Coronos is needing to complete the map, maybe over a minute.
Yeah, that's going to be a tremendous time bank if they do in fact get it. Flirty going to let loose now with the Dragon Strike. It's going to be the Gravitic Flux. I guess the first is kill, though. And with that, Post finds the defense once again, but 3.5 minutes on the clock for the Colonels.
It's a fight once again where it's so much of a layering of ultimates from a Post that it gets concerning, because now pretty much nothing to guarantee kills, to guarantee space with, besides that amplification that can also be countered so easily and so quickly by the side of Chrono. So they're in a very neutral situation where the early pick is going to do everything for Pose and to guarantee how much control they get into this corner.
We're going to see if they can get one of those early picks, because that could absolutely lead to a snowball situation. Number one, though, going to use that tack size. They're going to be met with an amplification matrix, though, and a Deadeye. That gets rid of Law. Mydudesa still trying to back off just a little bit, but the Post coming away with a beautiful fight win here.
It's a point for the third part of the map, but a lot of teams get stuck. There's just not really an opening. You gotta change your composition more times than not. You can't really deal with that shield for the Sigma and the positioning that he has, because the map itself is just benefiting the Sigma to capitalize on damage, but also protection. So now, Colonels, they have a task, and this is the point where I say, this Shatter either works, or you just gotta change completely the composition that you brought so far.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This has to land. The Shatter has to land big for them. Flirty has the Dragon Strike. That's the only thing going, though, for the Post this time around. Hook comes in. Bucky gets a nice early pick, and with that, the Post holds strong.
Not even a chance to use that Shatter. That is a terrible thing to happen to your team. The Reinhardt just gets hooked and separated from everyone else. Usually we see this more with a Mei, but I mean the Roadhog by itself is able to put quite a lot of job in isolating targets one by one, especially your main tank as soon as you're able to get in, as long as that shield is down. So another attempt here for Chronos shouldn't be too bad, as they now change into a Zenyatta.
Ooh, they're getting a lot of early value already as Flirty is out of the fight. We're going to see Gravitic Flux now committed to see if they can get a counter pick in, but it's going to be rezzed as a matter of fact. So, it's going to be 6 full members one more time for Post, and with this amplification matrix, once again, they find what they need to hold on.
Because of that fight, it enabled the rotation of those ultimates on the side of Post to work again, and the time it was over 3 minutes turns into less than a minute to work with, and it's 2-5-2 where the Reinhardt hasn't been able to connect the kills. It's such an unfortunate situation to deal with, and a Tire hoping for a miracle here.
We're going to see if that is in the cards. It's not going to be, as the Tire is taken care of harmlessly by Post University. Shatter does land, knocks down 2. Flirty's out of the fight. JBev goes low. The res is in, though, and now he's got the Deadeye, but some damage being done by the Colonels. Beautiful Dragon Strike as well. Frosty not able to get out of the way, and with that, the Colonels have picked up the cart once again with just seconds to go. If they're able to capture it, will be an OT.
Just gotta push and make sure that no one can get out of spawn if you want a clear chance into this one, because that Flux is about to be ready on the side of Pose, and it might be the ultimate, the last ultimate that we get to see into this fight.
It very well could be. JBev has swapped over. She is on the wrecking ball now to see if she can cause some disruption. Immortality field committed by Mydudesa, but already one pick in favor of the Colonel.
Oh, there's the Flux. It gets everyone here. But, I mean, gets to get to the blast point last second. Someone was at least close enough. I don't know who it was, because everyone seems to be lifted up by the ultimate. And it seems like Pose almost got away with it, but 3 points the Coronos was able to reach towards the end. And a Post that got so close, but so far to having a full control of that third point of the third part of the map more than anything. It looked very good. They were finally winning multiple fights in a row. They were finally rotating those ultimates that we didn't really see in the first and second just because of how messy everything was. And so now, still pressure. I feel like Hornels is still in a pretty good position. They get the control. Sure, they don't have time to work, but this is an assault map at the end of the day. No payload to start moving. It's just going to move right away. So it might be a pretty strong defense that we see next.
It very easily could be. We're gonna see the Colonels once again on this brawl composition that they just absolutely love. Host is flirting with the idea of coming out with Wrecking Ball, and I wonder if that wouldn't provide them with a little bit more success. Having, you know, that main tank in there to really help with initiation could be a big boon.
It's a composition that can look similar in some ways, but I still want to favor the one from Chronos, right? There's so much protection here. You have a Reinhardt, you have a Sigma, you have shields. The Post doesn't really have and cannot work with. And as long as you have shields on the defending side, there's a chance for your DPS to be enabled for success, as we've seen Coffee and we've seen everyone else do over and over again. So a little bit of poking that has to take place before the fight starts.
We're seeing that poking yield a kill, actually, onto a Ablindswan. JBev falls right after that, and with her out of the fight, no tanks are left for Post. Just going to be a shooting gallery now for the Colonel.
Wrecking Ball has to play in the backline on Coronos to get some value and to play around this composition. It's got to be disruptive. It's got to be putting that pressure from an angle where it's not going to be expected. But Coronos, this is exactly what they're looking for. They have a Zenyatta to connect that Disco Orb into the Wrecking Ball, as we see happening right now, and to make the situation for him to get taken down so much easier for the team.
Absolutely, but now with the Zenyatta out of the fight, the Post has an opportunity without having that Discord Orb helping to deal extra damage. Things can really start to get moving, but counterpick comes in onto a Ablindswan. This isn't over yet for the Colonels. They look to be coming back into this with a couple picks of their own. Top's gonna be committed. Frosty looking for a head in the back line, is able to find it, takes out number one, but the kill still coming in for the Colonels with Frosty out of the fight. Gonna be Flirty losing the Dragon Strike once again at 5-1. Can he find more? Post may in fact be able to get something going here, but Zen Law just laid down, taking him out in the Colonel's hold.
Really good positioning here from Law, as we got to see playing in the back, getting that protection while everyone else is able to come back, especially that Reinhardt that was giving them the front line pressure that the team needed to put to win that fight, especially because there's a Hanzo and it's a Widowmaker. It's a scary situation to deal with on the defending side, as a Zenyatta that has no shield, has no healing, or barely any to work with. So now Post is going to start this one aggressively, knows the positioning here, has an implication to work with too, but a single kill is not going to guarantee the entire fight.
No, it's not, especially when Transcendence has been used as well. Ablindswan gonna go in, see if they can find some value, having to fall back to their team now, as many of the members of their team are falling. It's gonna be Bucky, though, taking a trip back to spawn for the Colonel, so there is an opportunity here. But with DeadlyDrew just now respawn for Post, up to Mydudesa to try and keep everyone alive, and that is a tall order right now with a lot of aggression coming through onto this Widow. Gonna be taken out by a nice headshot, and with that, Cope cleans up for Colonel. Oh, Mydudesa, though, able to take him out at the last moment.
Puppy hungry for those 3 kills as well. Only able to get 2, but not too bad in a beneficial situation. Knowing minute remaining, the Hands was able to come back just in time to recontest the scenario. And with 45 now, Minefield is everything that Post is looking for. Has the position right, so he's going to go for the high ground, putting a little bit more into those DPS that are just putting so much to work with in that positioning.
Yeah, they really are. And the work getting done by this Minefield is tremendous as well. Picked up a couple of kills. That's going to be another 30 seconds left to go. Things seem to be turning around for Post, but Bucky might have another idea. JBev, she's not doing a lot of damage from the high ground, but Buttnut, Bucky, and Law are still online. Just 11 seconds left to go now for Post to try and regroup and make something of this. Otherwise, we're headed to a map 3 with them on match point. Transcendence has to be used by Colonels to survive that Dragon Strike from Flirty. Now we've got the Bob committed by number 1 again. JBev has fallen. That is huge. Both ultimates have been expended by the support line of Post. DeadlyDrew down very, very low. Bob is able to find a couple of kills. Capt now layers in the Dragon Strike, and with that, the Colonels go up 2-0 in this best of 3.
Only one more map to go on the side of Cornells if they're about to take this victory. It's a nice one that we've seen from them. It's a clean full hold as well that we got to see into this third point, which feels like doesn't happen as often. So it's something that also just clicks after they had so much difficulty into that third point when they were attacking. They made the last couple adaptations, which means also changing the composition a little bit more with that Zenyatta. And that Zenyatta as well, that is just more than anything protected enough to use the Transcendence in the last fight. So the space that the attacking team was trying to create over and over again, especially into the last fight with the Dragons, was denied. That Transcendence is going to be enough to keep the team alive and to get that pick that we saw early on. I really, really like how nice the backline on this team is looking. No matter what they're bringing, we've seen quite a lot of variety by now.
We have seen a bit of variety, and you're absolutely right. They're looking fantastic regardless of what they run. And post university, I mentioned this before. I'd like to see a little bit more proactive adaptation coming out from them. It feels to me like they're just banging their head against the wall in some cases, right? And hoping to see some cracks eventually, and it's just not happening. So I think a wholesale, swapping an approach might be a good idea for them as we move into the third and potentially final map. But before that, we're going to throw it to a break. But before that, I want to tell you a little bit about one of our sponsors, Lenovo. So, Lenovo Legion knows you play to win. To stand out from the competition, you need equipment that matches the speed of your thoughts and actions. The Legion Y25 monitor delivers wins in the toughest, most critical situations. With its extreme 1 millisecond response time to its insane 240 hertz refresh rate, the Lenovo Y25 doesn't just keep up, but does a lot more. Built for those engaged in vast multiplayer battles at the tournament level, the Legion Y25 offers a 24.5-inch FHD IPS panel with built-in NVIDIA G-Sync compatibility. The Legion Y25 monitor is available at Lenovo.com and other fine retailers. Thank you so much, Lenovo, for helping put on ECAC, Collegiate Overwatch, and other esports action. We very much appreciate you. Be sure to check them out and that monitor if you're looking to upgrade one as well. Dryad, that's going to do it, though, for these first couple of games. We've got a third right ready for us around the corner. Anything from you before we throw it to break?
No, I'm just ready. I want to see a little bit of a nice break for both teams to see if we're gonna see maybe a different map that is a little bit unexpected. That would also enable those compositions that we've been talking about so much.
Absolutely right. Well, we're going to see where we're going to go right after this break. The map type will be Assault, and it could be our final destination here tonight between these two teams. See you all back here in just a few short minutes. I hope you got a full glass of water or something to drink out there, everybody, because we are headed to the arid and harsh deserts of Anubis. This is where Post is going to try and come back from a 2-0 deficit and take the reverse sweep against the Colonels.
It's a map that definitely enables something like that to happen, but it's a scenario as well that you have to just take step by step on the side of Post and see how much value you can get out of this defensive composition, because it's a difficult one to run. It's an Orisa that is very good at controlling space and is going to try to control the high ground for as long as she can, while the D.Va has a task to put that pressure on the high ground, also peel for the supports a little bit, and also make sure that the Pharah is in check and staying alive, because that is where most of the damage will be coming from on this side of Post. Well, Coronos, I mean, the composition is already looking a lot better. Some last second changes that are going to be made here after they got some info very early on. And with that, it's simply more than anything Law that we got to see in this support line before is going to jump into the DPS, and with the Sombra, this win condition for them is going to be set.
That it will be indeed. We're going to get to see Pharah grounded by a hack coming out from Law. They go down very low, but are able to get out to safety. JBev has to have the immortality field used to keep them up, as Ablindswan able to find a pick on the Capt, sending her back to spawn. Now we've got a lot of damage coming into the Colonels in this airway area. Ablindswan gets stunned though out of the air, forced onto the ground, but still the damage is good, and the Colonels will have to try again.
The rest as well is going to connect at different times to the side of Post. They have all the numbers to work with here. The pressure is on a barrage that is going to get the last few trying to stay alive in the closed area. So Coronos, because of that, having to back up, having to work together, losing the main members of their team, as more of that poke phase is going to take place for them in the meantime.
That poke phase is only going to benefit the Post University here. Law hacks that mega health back, taking away some of the usefulness of that positioning that Post University currently has. The Flirty trying to get in some of this poke damage as the teams rotate. We're going to see the amplification matrix committed, but Colonels just rotate effectively into this little room right here, really mitigating the amplification matrix almost completely. Flirty, though, has this Dragon Strike online. I'm anticipating it getting out soon enough. There it goes, gonna go right through a couple of members of the Colonels, but they back away once again and don't take too much damage.
And you can stay alive just in time. There's so much damage as well here. Shatter all the way in the back only because of the D.Va, but could be enough here. The D.Va managing though to run away. The defense still shining, looking strong on EMP though. Now changing things around. The flux is going to connect and it's going to be effective here.
That it is. It takes JBev out of the fight. Without her main tank present, things are going to be very difficult for Post. Ablindswan goes down right before they get the barrage as well. A couple of picks coming in from the snipers of the Colonels, clicking heads very well indeed. Flirty on point now, trying to hold this down as hard as they can for Post University, but that's going to be about all that is left. And now progress will start to be taken by Colonels.
33% and counting on the side of Colonels. We're going to just clean up this side of barrage. Last opportunity, last dream here, but I feel like it was wasted because sure, you take down the Mercy, but you have no one else to continue touching the points, so that ultimate is just not going to get any value at all. Post is not going to have the barrage for that second point. For Colonels could simply snowball with the ultimate and the poke. They're able to connect early on, especially if Law is able to go all the way in the back, hack a couple members, and build that EMP soon.
They're going to have to get through several ultimates of Post first, though, to make that a reality. JBev, she has the supercharger online, ready to go. Fire Strike going to connect onto Flirty. They get on to about half health as the rotation is coming through from Colonel Esports. We've got Hive on the Widow now, looking to wait for a moment when they can move to this high ground positioning. Ablindswan briefly distracted. They're going to be able to post up now in choke. Here comes that supercharger from JBev. Now Law doesn't quite have the EMP ready yet. The Colonels need to continue to take this slow and wait to build up that win condition, which works just fine because they kite away this damage from the supercharger and once again mitigate its effectiveness.
The win condition has been set here, and EMP is about to be ready. Colonels, they just have to initiate with a strong and a shatter. Those are going to allow that to happen. There's so much damage that this Reinhardt alone is able to connect. Establish Struck, though, trying to stop the momentum just a little bit. Diana goes down, and there's a team here in the defense.
There absolutely is, especially with the res and the fact that Frosty's self-destruct hit. We're gonna see Bucky try to escape, but they're not gonna be able to. And what a turnaround for Post University.
It was an opening that started a little bit unexpectedly in the Sarah Cardinals. We saw the Nano, we saw the Shatter as well. Got quite a lot of value, but the EMP wasn't used. So the win condition for them, the big win condition for them, is still there. Law is going to try to connect. It has to get the tanks, has to get the supports as well, but everyone is spread across the map, making the situation so much more difficult to work with.
That difficulty really going to come into effect now, especially that Law is down. One pick on each side of a Law had the EMP. No really a follow-up to it, though, on their side. So probably not the worst thing in the world. Rez is going to come in as well onto Flirty. And once again, the Colonels have been stalled out at this joke.
Having to back up, having to wait for that EMP still because of the hook that connected so well. And the hook, it's Frosty being so hungry to get those kills as well. Again, the Sombra gets spotted. The Sombra gets taken down twice in a row now before anyone else in the team. That is a complete disaster to work with because time is running out, and time in a map like this one is going to be everything.
It is. Post University, they are not going down without a fight tonight. This is them with their back against the wall, and they have to be feeling good right now because there's a minute left on the clock for the Colonels to try and make something happen, and they're down a member again. It's once again a 5v6 before they even get to choke. Rez is going to come through now onto Widowmaker. Charge comes in as well onto a sleeping Frosty. Ablindswan does get the pick though, and they've got this barrage ready to go. Here comes the EMP. We're going to see the Shatter land as well, but Ablindswan going to lose that barrage. Too many shields in the way though, and a Sleep Dart connects, ending their reign of terror in the skies. So many members on point now from the Colonels, but Hope is down. That is an opportunity. Frosty finds Bucky. And with that, could we possibly have another hold from Post University? We do. Dryad.
Yeah, it's going to be the last seconds in the tragedy here in the Sarah Cardinals. We're looking so strong, and now have no time remaining. They're getting picked one by one, and Flux hopefully change things, but the Spara is just getting absolutely everything, is destroying the enemy one by one. Their chances are going to start to fade away. Oh no, so close, so far into this one as well.
That was a tremendous defense from Post University. I mean, the Colonels had just a sliver more that they needed to get before they ticked over to that first third of a point on second. And I mean, that could be the difference maker here, right? Because if Post University just captures first point, we're going to a map 4, regardless of whether or not they get second.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be either a draw or it's going to be the victory going on the set of Post for the first time. This is why I said it is a good map for reverse sweeps to start taking place. It's also a map that we don't usually see third, so Post absolutely capitalizing from that and capitalizing from the mistakes of the Colonels, which were quite a lot, honestly. The EMP didn't get value for 3 fights in a row because the Sombra was getting taken down first, and so it was a very long poke phase that didn't really have clear beginning and ending of fights in a map where all you depend on is very clear fights that have to take place for you to win, especially on the attacking side. You're either all forcing and putting that pressure into point, or everyone is going to be backing up and resetting. We didn't really get the chance to see that much from the Sarah Colonels, and because of that Post, we're just in such a nice positioning to work with. So a good win condition for them now that has been set, and it's got to be everything about getting that first point.
It is going to be everything about getting that first point, and they've got a good composition to do it as well. I feel like this has very burst win potential, if you will, right? They're just going to be looking to build up that nano boost for my dudes Mydudesa and get that beam charged up for JBev. Once she's at high charge, once you've got that nano boost built, which is getting built tremendously fast, you send Frosty in and you just open things up. Here goes Frosty for a quick soft dive. They're gonna get the biotic grenade boost as well. Gonna be one member down for the Colonels already. This is not good for their side. They wanted to put a stop to this, and already the Post has an amazing opportunity here with Katsumi down and out of the fight, but they needed to get picks a little bit quicker to this. Now they're starting in force, and right before Law gets that Bob online, but the tank line is down now for Post. We're going to see the res come in onto Frosty. Is this going to be enough to keep this point alive? We're going to see the capture start here as Bucky goes down. Now, just the members coming back from spawn. Dryad, we may very well be heading to map number 4.
It does seem like that is going to be the case here. Oh no, definitely regretting the early decisions that they were committing into this map on their attacking side. So now they're just gonna have to deal with it and hold as much as they can, at least to not take a map loss. It's everything that they can hope for in a situation like this one. And in fact, it's starting so much better now with the Valkyrie early on.
That it is, but we're gonna see a Ablindswan in the back line, and they're not being taken care of. There is Katsumi. She eventually finds a Ablindswan in the sky, evening up the playing field and giving the advantage to the Colonels. They can just hold through the rest of this. Their respawn advantage will be in their favor. Frosty down and out of the fight though, and with Putnut popping this supercharger, that's gonna be it for Post's first chance on point number 2.
The defense that has the spawn advantage, has a double shield, is just a really nice adaptation coming in for Phonos, who know that the composition has to change quite a lot, and that know that everything is going to be about holding strong. And the best way to hold strong against a FAR that has been so prominent in this map, it's gotta be with a lot of poke, a lot of ways to get this FAR, more than just a single DPS who has to take care of it. But a dive as well that can be effective here with the double bubble is gonna come from the left.
Massive barrage coming in, but it's going to be 2 picks on the side of the Colonels. That's really going to set the pace of things here. Gravitic Flux is going to land as well. We're going to see the res come out onto Frosty. Things looking a little bit rough for the Colonels at the moment. JBev now on point, but without a bubble, she's not going to last too long. And with that, Post University backs off.
Up here, playing very, very patiently. It's everything that the defense can expect. They don't want to give a single map to the enemy, and a draw is going to be better than that. But so much time that they have to deal with, that they have to waste from the set of Posts to have a chance. And if Professional it seems as well that it's going to be a very big one. No shields as well, no main tank for Post, but instead is going to be Frosty changing into the Roadhog. We've seen this Roadhog be effective, but in an attacking side where there's so much poke, you're just going to see the enemy their ultimate.
Yeah, exactly, and we're seeing that get built up right now. JBev just about has this Graviton Thirst. Law is out of the fight due to some excellent play from Frosty. Here comes the Nano Boost now onto Hive. That's going to do so much damage. Ooh. There's a Death Blossom, good for 4, and with that, Post backs off again.
Almost an answer here for 5 ultimates actually committed for Post.
Wow.
To get something, and a single Death Blossom was able to stop all of that at once. It's a Death Blossom that we don't usually see working out. The Death Blossom that usually gets blocked so easily, but it was an open field and a free field to work with for this Reaper. So single-handling calms down the situation, gives it a little chance for the team because the single fight will do it. So Post, they just have to regroup. They have to farm those ultimates again, and they already found an opening again.
Yeah, big hook coming in from Frosty. We're going to see the supercharger used in response. The Ablindswan has an excellent angle for this Deadeye, but they're going to have to drop down because of Law. Law able to find Flirty, but in the meantime, Ablindswan has come back up and is good for 2. Gonna be another pick in favor of Post. The Immortality Field there to keep them up. It's just Bucky on point. They're gonna use that Gravitic Flux, but they're hooked out of it by Frosty. That's gonna be one tick on the board and one map on the board for Post as well. Just a couple more picks that they need to finish this off. But the Colonels, they don't want to let go of this. Law out on the Tracer, but they're going to be dealt with quickly. Ablindswan is out of the fight there. Back now, we've got the Wrecking Ball for the stall. Immortality Field committed by Capt to try and put themselves back in this. Now there absolutely is a chance for that. Bucky going down very low on the team, but they are going to hold on to his leg. Oh, Katsumi is down, though. So has to commit the nano boost as well. But Post, they're backing off. They're giving space. They've got a pick, though, on the putt nut. Now they could potentially push this back again. Ablindswan getting a lot of damage from an off angle. Now they're pushing it from the front. Able to find Law. A minute left to go, but the kills are in their favor, and I don't think they're going to need that long to finish this off now, Dryad.
This kind of advantage here is doing everything for his head of calling nails, putting the pressure, touching one by one, and making sure that they stand a chance into this one. Just none of them, though, on the other side, were Coast. They were staying alive, and Minefield, though, that is going to challenge that in a big one here because it is going to be a bit of a piece taken down. It can be a little bit more momentum that Post has been waiting for, and it might be just that. Time is running out. There's less than 30 seconds. It might be the map victory, finally, going for Post.
That was intense. You have to applaud Colonels, though, for trying to hold on to that for dear life. They knew they were going to a map 4 regardless, but they did want him to have the map. They get it in the end, though, and Post beginning to claw their way back in this matchup.
It's a nice situation here on the side of Coast. They needed that victory. They needed to know that the reverse if it's going to take place. Has to start with the best way possible, and it's gonna be not a draw, but a complete victory going their way. So now we see a little bit more control coming in, but I just feel like this is not the biggest weakness for them. It's just the nature of the map. We see a lot of draws. We see a lot of situations like this one taking place, and it just felt like they just were never comfortable in this map, not attacking, not defending.
Right.
Sure, you're making the right steps, you're using the right ultimates, but it's a matter of seconds to guarantee who is going to win, especially that second point too. So it was a very good fight that both teams were able to put, but it's going to be Post getting away with the first map.
Yeah, beautiful play from them from start to finish. I can see exactly why they chose Anubis as their final map. I was about to make a prediction here, Dryad, but I see that the map has already been chosen. We are headed to King's Row, and I think this is the perfect choice coming out from the Colonels. We've seen how dominant their brawl is all night.
We've seen quite a lot of King's Row as well, right? It's a classic. It's one of those maps that it's just rare not to see it more than anything. In tournaments like this one, where everyone is jumping into King's Row when they're practicing as well. So you want to show what you practice. You want to show that, sure, you can play the rush that is so well known in a map like King's Row, but you can also play something else. And I'm talking about the first point, where sometimes we even see the double shield, and the double shield also had quite a lot of presence throughout the day and throughout this entire match. So I wouldn't mind seeing it on the defense, trying to hold it with as much as you can, and even bringing that possibility of the mate, which feels like it's lacking throughout map after map that we've gotten the chance to see.
You're absolutely right. That's a good point. I hadn't noticed that we hadn't seen May yet at all, but we haven't. And this is absolutely, if you're gonna see her anywhere, you're gonna see her on King's Row. That's for sure. So very likely that we're gonna see her come out here, and I'm curious to see what the answer is going to be from Post University here. Are they gonna try and take this squad head on in a brawl v brawl, or do we see them come out with something different? It's absolutely a brawl favored map, but we've even seen pro teams take to dive, take the double shield. There are other options.
Yeah, there's other options, and I just think that, I mean, it's already an indication, right? Throughout the day, we haven't really seen a mirror between the two teams. There's always a big difference between what is being played. So even if one team might bring that Reinhardt to the table, it's not always a full indication of how the match in second point, more than anything, that street phase that can be so difficult is going to play out. Again, like it's even more likely to see that double shield based on what the teams have shown us today and based on how
Yeah.
easy it as well as to synergize with a double shield where in first point you're all working together, you're all rotating the abilities that are being used instead of working with them all at once. And when it comes to those rotations, I still feel like Cardinal has been able to do that just a little bit better. I mean, that is why they have two maps that they were able to get back to back.
You're right. I think you comment about the rotations, and I think that's absolutely right. And we can take it even further. Just say that the play all around from Colonels has just been tighter. I feel like, right? The decisions have been made faster. The moves have been made faster. The ultimates have been committed faster. The plans have been executed faster. And when you control the tempo like that, you're more than likely going to be in control of the game, and therefore getting the wins. And as we load into King's Row, we're going to have the Colonels on defense first this time around. Post going for attack.
Attackers incoming in 30
Now, Colonels on the defensive side has to be something scary, has to be something that you wanted to avoid, but in a map like this one, especially in a situation like this one, it's all that you have to deal with. So yeah, the composition that we talked about, the rush is going to be played on the defense, is going to be the Rhine Saria. That sure has had some varieties recently. A lot of teams deciding to play the Reinhardt with the D.Va instead. Just has a lot more mobility. But when you have a support line that requires so much peeling, so much working together, as Law is back on that Zenyatta, and you're going to consider going for that Saria for those bubbles more than anything to keep the team alive. You feel when it's needed the most, and this defensive positioning to waste as much time as you can from this bit of code.
They're going to start to move in, but Bucky meets JBev with a fire strike to the face, and with that, the post is at 5 now. Post University likely going to have to back off. No, they do get the res, as a matter of fact, so they're going to be able to continue this push, and now Bucky's shield is looking a little worse for wear. We're going to see him back off to use that bubble from Putnut. Immortality field committed as well, but it's not going to be there fast enough to stay Law. Save Law. Bucky gonna fall. Number 1 is down as well, but they do have a pick onto Mydudesa. So that is an opportunity, but too many, I think, have fallen at this point from Colonel Esports, and Post will in fact take the first point of King's Row.
Every single win condition that I've seen from this sort of post, it's not being about ultimates, but it's about Frosty on this Roadhog. It's able to do so much over and over again because it's getting the opening pick, it's isolating targets, and that is why Colonels has such a crucial role, especially with offing 2 bubble targets that are getting hooked, and to keep the team alive. If we can see this happening, there is going to be a chance for Colonels to hold this second point, but if not, it's going to be over and over again. Frosty finds an opening with the Roadhog and everyone working after that. Yeah, we get to see it again. It's just happening right and left every single map, even the last one. That was the win condition for Post.
It certainly was, and right now they're looking as though that win condition is going to carry them again. Ablindswan now looking for the barrage on the flank. There it is. It's going to catch 2. Bucky eventually going to take him out, but Putnam falls right after that. The rest of the Colonels go down, and Post continuing to push forward and making short work of street space.
Very nice job here on the side of Post. Once again, knowing and really understanding what worked out in the previous maps, and then the fights that we got to see them win. Roadhog opening up the fight, the pressure that you put with the barrage and the Farah in the air is creating multiple angles for them to work with. So now, Post pushing forward, Frost finally getting taken down first, and Colonels have quite a lot of ultimates, all 6 ultimates to work with. They've got to be reacting now because at some point they already lost.
Gravitic Flux committed, but the Transcendence is there. Katsumi pops her Amplification Matrix as well. We're going to see Graviton Surge committed, Dragon Strike through, and that's going to be the Colonels finally putting a stop, but they had to spend 5 ultimates to slow down Post's roll.
Only the Visor left. It's also probably the worst ultimate you have left. It's so hard. Sure, we've seen the Visor get quite a lot of value today, especially in that first map, but making it happen constantly, it's so hard because it can become so predictable because there's so many places to hide as well and protect yourself from it. So situation here becomes a very difficult task to deal with on the attacking side. Because they're constantly entering, they're going to already force an immortality.
With Kof going down, Tac Visor is topped. We're going to see that push back a lot of the members of Post. They will find number one a Helix rocket kill onto Flirty, but the res is going to come in, but not able to dissuade that action. Mydudesa just about ready to use this amplification matrix too. This is going to be a big push coming in from Post now, especially with Putnut out of the fight. Frosty pushing forward now very hard. The shield of Bucky going down very low. They are forced to back off, taking out number one as well since they didn't have a shield. Now the whole hog dealing a tremendous amount of damage, and we are having a blisteringly fast time coming out from Post right now. They're primed to capture this with over 3 minutes in the bank.
There's so much time remaining. There's so much time to work with as well. Those dragons as well. About to be ready, can do everything.
Wow.
And Colonel seems like was about to use a bit, waiting for the right time, waiting for the ultimate as well to be available in just a couple of seconds. And the Mercy as well, trying to run away. It's not going to be the case. And finally, a reset that we get to see the payload moves back. It was so close again. So Post, I mean, they're still in a really good situation. Frosty is still on the Roadhog, is everything that you can dream of. And you have a barrage of multiple angles that are going to be targeted. Easy isolation that is going to do everything for this attacking team, especially with so much time remaining.
Yeah, they've got a tough task ahead of them indeed, but the Colonels do have 5 ultimates built up now, including the Tac Visor once again. Barrage gonna land, though. That takes Law out of the fight. Number one, and Katsumi Fall as well. A huge amount of damage coming in, and Post is making quick work of the Colonels, and they will capture King's Row with 2:33 on the clock.
2-3-3 now on the attacking side for Post. Now we get to see what Colonels can bring into this one themselves. I feel like Colonels is one of those attacking teams that are able to just do so much better when they are over and over again initiating those fights. And not to say you can't do that on the defense, but it requires quite a lot of coordination to make it work out. So now a little bit of slowing here. Colonels, I want to see the aggression. They showed it to us in first and second map. They can do it again just to close things out, because if not, the mental plays also a role into what can happen.
Yeah, it absolutely can. The mental is such a big deal here, and it has to be at least strained right now for the Colonels, right? Even if they're holding on to it, and but it has to be feeling strained. And so, you know, looking now at this attack where, you know, let's look at this on paper, right? On paper, the Colonels should have this, right? So this has to be frustrating to them, right? You know, they're playing it by the book, but they're getting countered by this very off-the-wall, bizarre composition that the Post is throwing at them, and is working very well. So that's another factor I think you have to take into account here. That's probably shaking it as well. And, you know, I at this point, I think I have to question Putnut on the Zarya. I think a Diva is in order here because of how much value this far is getting now from Ablindswan, but that might not be in Putnut's wheelhouse, which could be a problem.
So sorry here is going to have bubbles for when someone gets hooked. So it's going to keep the team alive. It's going to keep that backline alive more than anything that can get taken down so easily. But if the bubbles do not time well, it just becomes a disaster. And this is something that we've seen over and over again now instead of Colonels. But again, because they are starting on the attacking side, they can find an opening that's so much easier. And they already forced an immortality to get used. That is gotta be the opening. Mercy down.
Yeah, with that Mercy down already, things are going great for Colonels. But there is going to be a counter pick. Ablindswan finding Kof. It usually works the other way around. Number one just about has this barrage online, and they are outpacing Ablindswan tremendously. Maybe the answer to this Pharah was a Pharah of their own. Hook gonna come out from Frosty, not gonna find its intended target. 3 minutes left to go. But with Putnut down, it's gonna be Post holding.
Rash that is waiting for the right time, for the right answer. for this usage, and it's gonna be a careful one too. I feel like we're gonna see a change coming in for Coffee. He was able to get the opening pick, but getting so much value with this Widowmaker can be something that is stopping your team and slowing it down. So now, Colonels, they get to try again on this attacking side, and they're going to play around the statue before starting that fight.
Gravitic Luck's gonna be used early by JBev. She found a couple of targets, but the barrage from number one lands, and it lands hard. We're gonna see a fight back coming in now from post. They get the res, and that's gonna tilt things in their favor. Graviton Surge, so committed by Putnut. Not gonna find the kills that they wanted, and in fact, they're finding themselves on the worst side of things at the moment. Post posting up a great defense here, but JBev getting pummeled pretty heavily by a high charge Putnut. And with that, the Colonels finally are going to be able to break through and start to get some percentage on the board, and likely the entire point.
Oh, it's going to be 1-by-1 trying to come into point, but the Roadhog gets taken down, and the last chances as well are going to fade away. Going to be one opportunity here. A rest as well that is starting to connect. Almost does it, but at the end, doesn't get anything else. The point finally goes in the side of Colonels. The payload starts to move, and it took a couple of teams putting a Genji that will now get.
Yeah, this is you know, this is a great adaptation coming out from the Colonels. They're saying to, you know, post, all right, you're not gonna play by the rules, neither are we. We're gonna start to make something that you can't handle come to play. So with number one on this Mara and Kof on the Genji, we're really seeing some things open up for him now. And after a tremendous Graviton Surge, the Colonels continue to roll through Streets of King.
You pass this corner, and the opportunities become so much easier for the second checkpoint to go your way. And Colonels, they understand this. They're going to push forward with the two tanks, and they're going to make sure that it's the least amount of fights possible to guarantee more control for them. So Pose, in the meantime, they're just coming back. They're going to play with an Echo now instead, and it was a fly in the sky with two different heroes that are going to be played. A little bit of speed that is going to be created, but those dragons are all coming in for answer, and a fluff that is going to be answered after.
The Flux gonna land a few people onto the ground. Number one gonna be one of them. Courtesy actually of Ablindswan. Kof now with the Dragon Blade. They're gonna start slicing through the competition, but they find their demise. The focusing being too much from Echo. Just a couple of meters left for the Colonels to try and push through this, but they're coming up against some stiff competition right now. We're gonna see Flirty swap over to the Ashe as well. A lot of adaptation now coming through from Post, but Colonels are doing a tremendous job handling it, and they are eventually going to be able to come away with this fight win here, as long as they can get these last few staggers out of the way.
It's a really nice tiny that we got to see into the fight. The all connected into the enemy, into the side of Pose. It got Frosty on the Arisa. Frosty had nowhere to run. He had no shield as well. So you take down that shield that everyone is hiding behind, and you open up the doors for Colonels to continue moving this payload. We'll continue to do that as well, as everyone is going to aggressive, and they want to also contest the high ground. That is even fine. One or two will be strong, but they have to themselves in. They're investing for so early into the fight.
That they are, and actually now one of the late resources invested into it. Law's anti-nade lands hard. Ablindswan gonna duplicate the Pharah. We're likely gonna see a couple of barrages come out here in short order. Post gets a couple of kills, and with that they will have the hold as long as they just make these plays the way they should. We're gonna see Bucky trying to back off, but they're not gonna be long for this world. Putnut won't be either. They try to get to that mini health pack, not gonna be there. Law throws themselves off the map, and with that, the Colonels go back to spawn. And now, even if they do finish, it's gonna be with less time on the clock.
2 minutes here to work with Colonels. Not in the worst positioning, but a lot to work with next. But like you said, the timing is going to be against them the more that the fight lasts. Suppose they have to play this smart. They have to initiate with the walkthrough, with the amplification, one after the other, and make sure that the momentum continues to go their way. There's so many opening tools for them, but it's going to be Colonels actually starting off this fight. The rest is going to connect, so Bob is going to be online still.
Oh, Barrage gonna be cut short at the last moment. The res will come in. Mydudesa out of the fight, but so is Capt right before they were able to get that blade online with the nano as well. Post University doing a tremendous job holding back the Colonels right now, and they're making a great case for themselves to come back and take this in a reverse sweep. Lucky has the Shatter. Now they're going to lay it down. Flirty falls onto the ground. The Shatter already taking out JBev. With her out of the fight, it's going to be Frosty using the supercharger to try and turn the tides in their favor, but Bucky's Rocket Hammer has other plans at the moment. They go down very low, but they are going to stand tall at the end of the day, and with just a little over a minute left, we get a last moment contest by Tracer. They're going to keep it alive, and the Colonels are going to end with 1 minute on the clock.
1 minute that turns into the default time here on set of Colonels. It's not the greatest, it's not the worst here, but I do believe that they should be able to hold for at least 2 fights onto what Post is going to bring to the table on the attacking side. So Colonels are depending once again on playing aggressive and finding those openings. This is the biggest thing for them because it's lacking so much. They are winning those fights more than anything that mid-fight, where they're able to make sure that the straights get more value and get quite a lot more than that after. But Post is the one often initiating the fights. We talk about Frosty, and Frosty was finally counter onto that Roadhog, was forced to play Risa, and suddenly Post didn't look as strong as they used to look. So as long as Colonels force Frosty into something else, it seems like they stand a chance. I mean, they not only forced Frosty out of the Roadhog, but they also forced the Farah to play an Echo instead. And both flying heroes, they can get quite a lot of value. They can get quite a lot of momentum, especially talking about the duplicate. But the damage that the Farah is able to put early on has been an absolute highlight of this match. So Colonels understand that, they counter it, and they counter it with their own Farah, their own damage that is able to connect early on.
And now Post looking to counter that Farah with the Echo, but I have to say it wasn't quite doing what it needed to last time around. You know, Echo typically going to be the one winning out that duel, but number 1, I think, coming out on top in the end right there. We're going to see Colonels going with what worked at the last point. They're going to be trying to build up this barrage as fast as they can. Law already halfway to a nano. That is tremendous. Go flagging behind us, so not going to be committed to them. At least not initially. Flirty gets left. We're going to see Law have to commit the biotic grenade to keep their team alive as an onslaught of damage comes in from Post University. Less than 30 seconds to go. This is going to be one fight, and it's going the way of the Colonels. They found a couple of picks early on. That's going to snowball into several more. All 6 still standing tall for them. And with that, they capture first and head into street.
A beautiful fight here coming in for Colonels. Sure, it's going to be overcome, but as long as you're able to take control, the win condition is just going as far as you can. More than anything, because Colonels was playing for the nano, but the nano wasn't used, so they still have this utility, they still have this ultimate to use whenever. Law does get taken down though, but should be able to come back alive. Looking at how aggressive everyone is playing in the side of Colonels, you're going to create as much space, you're going to pass this corner, and as long as they keep someone on the payload, they can win this one.
They absolutely can. The res is going to come in at the last moment, not willing to wait for them to even get back from spawn as that card is starting to round Bookshop. Things are looking great right now for the Colonels. Post in a tremendously bad situation. JBev forced onto the Wrecking Ball to try and make something work, try and change things up. Anti-nade's gonna hit them, force them to go away. Not getting the value that they had hoped for. They're getting chased very hard by Capt as well, who now has that blade online. We're going to see the barrage come out as well. One of them likely going to be used to take out that immortality field. We're going to see the amplification matrix though used early on. That's going to be good for a pick on the Bucky. Here comes the nano blade. It's good for 2. Both supports are down for Post. And with that, things have gone from bad to worse for them. And the reverse sweep is looking a little rougher moment by moment as the Colonels continue their cataclysmic run through the streets of King.
A barrage to connect next, then because the Farah is going to need quite a lot of support. It's going to be the Mercy right next to her, and it's going to be the Anna as well, being so aware of everyone that can try to shut down the Farah down. So a little bit of early reaction time that is going to do everything for this next fight. The barrage that can be so effective here as Post is just getting absolutely destroyed. Beautiful anti-aim coming in next, and Coffee is just having a field day here into this area, knowing the way in the teamwork that's connecting so well, and here as well.
Wow.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, the barrage is still going to connect so much damage. It doesn't even matter if the stigma is going to be there.
No, it doesn't. This is absolutely incredible from the Colonels. Coffee has turned this around on the back of a big anti-nade for them. But they're going to be taken out early by Flirty. This could be where Post finally gets their hold. But a big Graviton Surge going to catch so many of them in that door. Try to keep them off the point as long as they can. It's going to be good for 1 kill onto DeadlyDrew. Mydudesa goes down as well, but number 1 has fallen. Now I've got Coffee trying to make it back. There's no DPS on the ground at the moment for Colonel Esports, but it might not matter because that is a big nano boost in. I can't believe it. The Colonels finished King's Row.
Score 5-3.
They don't finish it though. They get close.
Oh, they didn't? Oh, you're right. They
They
didn't. I thought
don't.
they got it.
I am just processing that. It was almost there, but it didn't get to 6.
Yeah, I think somebody stepped off the cart right there at the moment because that looked like it was going the Colonel's way.
Yeah, it was going their way. They were winning the fight, but it was still just a little bit. Yeah, it was just a little bit more that was needed for them. I mean, at the end of the day, the points are not going to do much. I don't see a lot of possibilities where King's Row goes to even more rounds than this one. This is already just reaching quite a lot. So it's falling so much into Post and what they're able to do, right? It's a long way to go with the payload, and sure, they have more time, but we see over and over again, and we got to see from Colonels, time doesn't always mean anything. It doesn't always mean a win condition. It's a minute that they had to work with, and a minute that they value so much that they got almost until the end. So Post, they have to get as much value too, and that starts with the early fights that we see. Sure, they're gonna potentially bring those close range DPS, including that Reaper, see how much you can get from that. But again, the early ultimates, like we saw Colonels doing with Law and building the Nano, are not going to really their Post.
We're going to see Post taking a back way through Hotel to take on the Colonels. 1 player down already from them. This is starting out well for Post. Things going from bad to worse for the Colonels. No Law to be found anywhere. Katsumi, the remaining support, but they're not going to be long for this world. They're just going to back off. And with that, Post takes a very quick first point on King.
About 30 seconds or so that took Post to take control into this one, and now they're going to continue pushing forward. It's the same thing that Colonels did. So it's just passing this corner more than anything that is so hard to deal with, as the defense is already positioned there because of the timing for Colonels, they couldn't position themselves. They're going to play around the map as well, try to get some things to work with and backing up as well. So they have to be very reactive of the aggression because Post already got their opening pick here.
We're going to see the res come in. Can they survive through Flirty trying to pick them off? They are able to do just that. Cart now rounding Bookshop. And Dynamite going to dissuade Post from pushing forward at least for a moment while they shake that off. Immortality Field, in fact, has to be committed. But in the meantime, Bucky is down. So Post making quick work of this map as well. They said, we're not content to let you steal the show. Dragon Strike comes in as well. But can Coffee launch theirs and find some value too? We're going to see a couple of picks coming in favor of Post once again. The Colonels don't have any supports online at all. This is another fight win for Post, and possibly second point.
Ultimate Views going up contest. One teammate with this Bob is going to stop right before the payload gets to the end, and it's a good way to start it off. The target gets taken down, the grab as well. Everything that Colonels was doing was stacking ultimates. The Reinhardt, though, taken down. Can be a tragedy here, but it seems like it's working out just fine for Colonels. Playing, still having a Valkyrie in their hands, and still managing to get more numbers than Post in.
The Death Blossom, though, might have turned things around at the last moment for a Post, but a nano boost on a Punda puts a stop to that. 5 seconds left to go, Can anyone even touch? We're gonna see JBev with a shield, with a bubble and a dream, but the charge is there. The charge is good, and with that, the Colonels will take the series 3-1.
It got very messy, especially at the end. But the win condition that I was looking at on the defense was knowing when to use those ultimates. And it is something that they capitalized from so well. It was post using the dragons early on. They had no grab to work with yet. It was only at 70%. So what does Colonels do? They know they have more ultimates. They have about 5 ultimates to rotate with. And they start using them one by one. They start layering them until it just works the way that it was needed. It's a cheesy win condition in an overtime round where you just save all 6 ultimates, use them all at once, and hope for the best. But a single win was already doing quite a lot, and we saw the results. It was at the end of the day looking for who was able to adapt better, and for this map especially, it was everything that Colonel was able to do.
It was. That was